Guys, welcome back. In this video we are looking at the MLB slate for tonight. We have 13 games for Friday night. Let's go ahead and get started. As always, if you enjoy the picks, appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't not already. You can check out Twitter, website, prize picks code down below in the description. And let's go ahead and get started. So we got a lot of games. Go ahead and look at the Draftkings main slate today. To start, first game up, we got maybe some weather issues in some spots, but some of the weather has cleared up a little bit. It's looking better than it was earlier. So looking at the Rockies against the Nats as the first game here. Pretty high total. Both teams above 4.8. The Nats, this game did go over easily last night, and you got two pretty poor pitchers going on the hill, so I'm expecting some runs. On the Washington side, I'd be looking at, if Thomas is batting leadoff at that price tag, he's definitely in play. We know Nelson Cruz has been one of the best lefty mashers in baseball for his career. He's in play, even though he has not been as good this year. And then you can definitely look to Josh Bell, though he's in a little bit of a slump right now. And then on the Rockies side, I don't have much interest in them. The price tags are pretty crazy. They're priced like they're playing in cores, like 6K Crone, 52 Blackman, 53 for Connor Joe. I just can't get behind them. Next game up, I do have a lot of interest in the Boston Red Sox bats. They're going up against Kyle Bradish. The wind is blowing out 14 miles per hour at home, and the Red Sox bats have absolutely awakened recently. It's been with the emergence of Trevor Story, who was one of the worst shortstops the first month, and then since the month of May, the last 2 weeks, he's been the best, one of the best in terms of just hitting power and getting RBIs and just doing a lot of good things. So for this stack, I think they all look really appealing. Verdugo would be my favorite just based on his price tag at 33. I would be looking at Martinez, who's batting over 500 in his last 10 and just really hitting the ball really well. And then Story is batting 6, but he's still playable. And then same thing with Kike. It looks like a good value at only 35. Got the Indians against the Tigers. Not really a game that I'm looking to get too much bats from. There's some other offenses with there being 13 games. And the pitching, I'd be looking at maybe Shane Bieber at 9K, but I'm definitely not going to play the Tigers pitcher. And I'm not looking at a stack on either side. I like the Mets stack a little bit against Bailey Falter. You got a lefty here, so you're looking at the righties with Lindor, Starling Marte, Alonso, and then you get a good price tag on Mark Canha at 32. He's always been pretty solid against lefties. And you have Eduardo Escobar, also good against lefties, going back to his days with the Diamondbacks. Yankees against the Rays. This one is in Tampa, roof closed. Not a good hitting park. Not something I'm too interested in getting the bats. I mean, this is probably one of the lowest totals we've seen for the Yankees all season, 3.7. And that's a lot to do with playing in Tampa Bay. And it's also a lot to do with the fact that their offense is banged up. Like that 5 through 9 is the worst it has been all season. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. No Giancarlo Stanton is the biggest name that's out for them, but they're dealing with other injuries that has just hurt their offense. So Trevor Rogers against Ian Anderson. Looking at some of the Braves bats, you can look to some of the righties here, like Ozuna at 4K. Swanson is in a really good streak right now in terms of hitting the ball after he was really bad for the first couple of months, or the first month. And then Albies at 47 looks solid based on his price tag. The offense doesn't look as appealing without Acuna in there. The Twins blew a game that they should have won. I mean, they were up 2-0 in the top of the 8th, and then the reliever gave up 3 runs to the Royals, all with 2 outs. Got a double from Witt, and then another double from the other Witt, Bobby Witt, and then they had a chance to take the lead, bases loaded, no outs, bottom of the 8th, and they did not come through. But tonight, against Brad Keller, you can look to some of them. Buxton is like 1 for his last 31, so he's in a big slump. It's tough to pay 59 for him the way he's been hitting. Woodruff looks like a decent pitcher. I have no interest in the bats in that game. Not much interest in the bats in this Angels game either. The Astros look solid. Flexen isn't a good strikeout pitcher by any means, so you can look to some of these contact hitters. But my favorite stack is going to be the Dodgers today. And then I do like a good cheap pitcher in John Gray. He's only 55 going into the Coliseum. 3.4 total for this A's, and we've seen their offense kind of resort back to what we expect when the season started. They got off to a good start hitting home runs, but they were getting home runs from guys that are typically not doing that very often, and it has kind of regressed back to normal. So 55 for John Gray looks solid. And then the Dodgers look great against Bumgarner. Bumgarner only has under a 2.6 ERA so far this year, but he doesn't strike people out, and this Dodgers lineup is super hot right now. Mookie Betts is the hottest player in baseball. You can make the argument for Trevor Story, Betts. You can make the argument for JD Martinez, the way he's been hitting for Judge. But Mookie Betts has been on fire. Going up against lefties, he's always mashing them. He's my favorite player on the Dodgers today. Cheap value picks you can look to would be maybe considering Chris Taylor. He's also very good against lefties. You can look to Trey Turner. And then we got a huge game from Freddie Freeman. Hopefully he played him. I posted him on Twitter, part of the core plays yesterday. And then last game, looking at a potential pitcher in Sean Manaea. But in terms of the bats here, Machado is amazing against lefties, like absolutely amazing. He has having a great MVP caliber season so far, and against lefties, against Quintana, I have a lot of interest in him. Going over to the DraftKings salaries, first guy I'm going to plug in here is going to be Justin Verlander at 10.5. I mean, he's probably leading the case for Cy Young in the American League. The way he's come back from multiple injuries, missing about 2 full seasons, has been super remarkable, especially at his age. He's going to be the first guy put in against a Seattle team that he has faced a lot over the years, and this season he's already faced them twice, and he's averaging 27 fantasy points against them. So that's the first guy. You can consider these other pitchers like Sean Manaea, but he's not as much of a strikeout pitcher. You can consider Woodruff, but not as good of a matchup. And then value pitcher I'm going to go ahead and put in so I can fit in these expensive bats is going to be John Gray. At only $5,500, love the price tag. He's had 3 straight starts of over 12, almost 13 fantasy points. He's going deeper into games, and even though he's had some poor starts, don't really expect him to get blown up by this sort of A's team. And he has done a lot better on the road, which you'd expect, even though Texas is a decent pitching park at this point, but the Coliseum is the best pitching ballpark, so I think he'll do some good things tonight. In terms of the bats here, first base, I like Freeman. If you wanted to go lefty-lefty, it's not the best, so if you don't want to, if that's going to scare you off, you can go down to Pete Alonso against a lefty. He looks solid. You're going to have some good value with the Red Sox bats here, and Cordero at $2,700. He's been batting near the bottom, but he does give you that value. And then Luke Voit against a lefty at $29 looks solid. Over at second base, it's a spot that you can go down for some value. You don't have very many great options at the top end besides Trevor Story at 55. Wanted to break the bank for him, or Jose Altuve. The mid-range isn't super deep. Maybe Cesar Hernandez, or could look to Gavin Lux if he's in there. But the value picks, you could look at like Odor has been hitting the ball well for the Orioles as just like a one-off play against Whitlock, who does give up some contact. He's viable. Over at third base, go ahead and plug in one of the best third basemen in all of baseball, and he's not that expensive today at 51 only, and that's Manny Machado. He's at home. He's been crushing the ball at home, 394, 5 home runs, gives you stolen base upside as well. Taking a look at Manny Machado's stats for this year, they've been remarkable, especially against lefties is where you can really feel good about playing him. This season he's batting .405 with 6 out of his 8 home runs have come against lefties, and that's only in 42 at-bats. So that's going to give him absolutely crazy advanced numbers. .452 ISO, only a 5.9% strikeout rate. And he's not only hit good against lefties this year, he's always hit good against lefties going back to last year or the years before. Over at shortstop, this one is a spot where I usually like to pay up, and that's going to be for Trey Turner today. He's 59. He's expensive, but that's why I put in $5,500 for John Gray. You're getting a guy with big-time stolen base upside, as well as hitting well against a lefty. It's a little bit tougher to steal bases against lefties, but Baumgartner doesn't have the fastest delivery, so definitely something that Trey Turner could try to do, and he has hit them really well this year. They've had a tough time getting him out. 379 in 8 games with a 621 slugging. In the outfield, you can go with another expensive stud, would be Mookie Betts. Tough to fade him at this point when he's going up against a lefty, and the way that he's been hitting the ball. I mean, it's easy to play Betts over Buxton at this point. Buxton's been in a really bad stretch, whereas Betts continues to mash against Arizona, 355 in his 8 games this year. Looking back at his games, he hasn't dropped below like 7 fantasy points in so long. You have to go all the way back to the beginning of the month 2 weeks ago for him to have a poor game, and he's been in a lot of double digits fantasy points during that stretch. In his last 10 games, he has 5 home runs. He's batting .459. Looks awesome. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in a value play in Alex Verdugo to get you another outfielder. He's only $3,300. Love the price tag for Verdugo. He gets a good matchup, lefty-righty matchup, and he got off to a good start to the season. Then he was in a bit of a cold stretch. Hopefully last night's game kind of awakens him a bit. And this series has been very high scoring for the last series has been very high scoring for them. They put up 16 runs. They put up 16 in Game 1 against the White Sox, and now they're going up against Baltimore, who doesn't have the best pitching staff at home with the wind blowing out. This Red Sox offense is making up for their cold start to the season, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have another big offensive game tonight. So that's what I got for DraftKings. Go ahead and talk about FanDuel. So for FanDuel, same type of deal. Not going to go through each position because it's the same deal as I liked on DraftKings. In terms of the main stacks today, the Dodgers look really good. I like the Mets stack a bit. You can consider some one-offs, but the Red Sox would be also at the top of the list, and then followed by the Astros. Maybe considering some of the bats from the Washington side, just with the value that we have at some of their price tags. But going with Verlander, I like to pay up a bit on FanDuel for a pitcher. Sometimes you can go with a little bit cheaper, like yesterday. It worked out really well if you went with like Montas or Aaron Nola, both in the 8K range. But today I'm going to look to pay up when you have all these superstar pitchers at the top end. I feel like one of these guys is probably going to break 50. Chris Taylor, super cheap, second baseman for the Dodgers. He hits really well, even though he doesn't bat at the top of the order. He's still going to get you a lot of at-bat opportunities with just how much the Dodgers score, how much runs the Dodgers usually score. And against Bumgarner, I think it shouldn't be a problem with them continuing to score runs. And then I like Escobar, only $2,400. You get a third baseman who is starting to hit the ball a little bit better. He's had a 4-hit game recently, a 2-hit game, 3 straight games with a double. Good matchup against Bailey Falter, a very young, inexperienced pitcher from the Phillies. And the Phillies don't have the best bullpen. It's not a very much of a shock. They've continued to struggle finding pieces to play in their bullpen. But their bullpen struggles have not only been this year, it's been for the last 4 or 5 years. They've really struggled in the bullpen, and I don't expect Falter to last very long for them. So Escobar, batting 5th at 24 is a great value. And then going with the other guys that I mentioned over on the DraftKings side, Mookie Betts, 46, just been super hot right now. And then I love the price tag on Alex Verdugo. And also consider Kike Hernandez batting leadoff for them as well. And that's what I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Best of luck. If you want to go a little bit cheaper at pitcher, you could consider Shane Bieber at 86 only. It will save you some money, but you do have some value. A lot of guys in the 2K range like Escobar, Chris Taylor, Verdugo. You got some more and some other high-scoring offenses. But that's what I got. Best of luck today, and hopefully you guys have a great long weekend.